Hello, zombies and zombettes. We are going to cover the last half of the Last of Us series on HBO. That is a video game adaptation into a TV series. I have watched a complete playthrough of the video game, so I know how closely to the original source material it actually stays. And I think I'm gonna have to say this is probably the best video game adaptation ever created, at least the closest one, because it
You mean like
stays
the most accurate, most like
most
closest to
accurate,
the
most
game?
one to
Okay.
one. Yeah,
Okay.
there's a lot of one to one in this series. I think when we left off, uh, Joel and Ellie had been uh, sticking up at gunpoint, and they kind of left that ambiguous as to what was going to happen next. Um, we do finally find out what happens next, right? And I guess these two, it's like brothers are hiding out from this wacko militia or whatever the hell they are.
Yeah. And this is one. This is one led by the woman who's the leader of it. I think we were talking about this before. She also plays Rose on Two and a Half Men. So it's a really comedic role. So seeing her in this really dramatic role and as like a really fucked up and brutal person was really interesting. She's also, I was thinking, a more something much more recent that she's been in was she played Leonardo DiCaprio's wife in Don't Look Up.
Mm, okay. I have not seen that movie yet.
You saw Don't Look Up.
Oh, wait. Yes. I have seen Don't Look Up. I'm sorry. I thought,
Yeah, we talked about it.
yeah, that was the satire about the asteroid going to hit Earth.
Hmm.
Oh, I guess I just didn't notice that's he played his wife. They don't, I don't know. I just don't, I see them as completely different people.
Yeah, I know. She's a very versatile actor.
Okay. Um, so there's these two characters they meet, a brother and a younger brother. One of them is deaf, and the other brother is taking care of his little brother. So we find out, hey, they're not part of that militia, but they do need help getting out of the place, and they see that Ellie and Joel are quite resourceful. And their plan is to take some type of sewer tunnels or subway tunnels to get outside the place or something like that.
Yeah, and I don't remember how does that guy who's there with his brother how did he find them before?
Well, they were sleeping in some building, and that building is actually a place where they used it as a hideout, so that's why they encountered them.
No, I mean, how did the I forget the guy's name, but the guy and his brother, how did they know about the sewer tunnels?
Oh, Sam. Uh,
Yeah.
they knew about the sewer tunnels because they found like some old blueprints of the city or something, and they saw that because he had access to that, they didn't really go down there for one because they thought it was infested with the infected.
Mm-hmm.
So they all knew about these tunnels. They just didn't think anybody would go down there, as they were trying to say that that's where they pushed the infected into when Fedra was around,
Right.
which is kind of like the military dictatorship that was overthrown in this particular city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting how we see throughout the show how Fedra is the kind of totalitarian government, but then they're the Firefly rebels, and then there are also these militia groups that just take over towns all over the place too.
Yeah, so this other anti-Fedra group, they're not associated with the Fireflies. They just happened to gotten fed up with Fedra's presence in that particular city.
Right.
So I know they traverse this place, and when they come out of the tunnels, they still are accosted by this militia group. A big battle ensues. That's basically a bunch of infected come from a big ass sinkhole in the ground and start attacking everybody.
Yeah, that was a really cool and surprising part.
Um, so during this attack, and this is kind of mimicking a different part of this actually kind of happens in the video game. The setting is a little different, but this set piece does happen where they're trying to escape the militia, and at the same time, there's a big horde of infected chasing everybody. And Joel is like in a sniper spot with a rifle, and he's
Oh,
trying to
okay.
pick off. Yeah, he's trying to pick off people and infected that are trying to attack Sam, Ellie, and the little brother. So that part is actually in the game where he is
Okay.
doing Overwatch and trying to get them safely out of that situation.
Okay.
Eventually,
So you can see how good of a fucking shot he is. I mean, you see that throughout the show, but you see that in this sequence in particular, him being a really good sniper shot, sniping like fast moving zombies and people to save Ellie and Sam and his brother.
yeah, how good of a shot in the game depends on how good you are at playing the
Yeah, that makes sense.
game.
Yeah.
But by default in the show, he's a pretty good shot. Um, so he does save them from their predicament, and they do end up in a safe house at some point. And do you want to describe the safe house scene and what happens?
Oh, I forgot I had myself muted. Yeah, I think that's the end of the episode, right?
Right,
And it's the
right.
most it's it's got the it's got another big shocker ending, of course. Ellie is in they're in basically like I think they're in basically adjoining hotel rooms, kind of.
Hmm.
And Ellie and Sam's younger brother are in one room, and then the other two guy, Joel and Sam is his name.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
believe his name is Sam.
yeah,
Is it
they're in the other
Sam?
room, and
I
then
think Sam is the boy, actually.
oh, okay. So
Um,
Sam reveals to Ellie that he's been bitten in the chase and struggle and fleeing from the mercenaries and zombies. So she just doesn't tell Joel and the other guy because presumably because she wants to have a friend, and she's been lonely throughout this post-apocalyptic scenario. Plus she's immune anyway, and but she feels so upset about it at first that she just tries to rub her blood on his bite mark, because she thinks that that could maybe somehow help, because she knows that her blood is special. I don't know, tell me what you think about this, because I saw in Daniel Green's review of the series, he got the impression that she thought this would actually do something to help him, and
right.
it seemed like maybe the education is really bad in Fedra. I didn't realize that. I mean, that's totally possible. I kind of just got the impression that she was just doing desperate things that she knew wouldn't work, but it's totally feasible that Fedra just wouldn't educate you enough to know that you can't transfer immunity from your blood to another person just by wiping your blood on them. But
Right. I think
yeah,
she just kind of mistakenly thought that her blood was some type of medicine.
okay,
Um, which it is not. It's just an inherent property of her body is that she doesn't get
Right,
infected by this stuff. And then
right.
another thing too, she wanted to set Sam at ease.
Hmm.
Because of course the boy was depressed. He knew he was gonna die.
Yeah.
So she wanted to do that. It was pretty reckless, to be honest. This scene actually plays out pretty differently in the game.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Um,
in the
well, we
game,
didn't.
Sam doesn't tell anybody that he
Oh,
gets bit. Yeah.
okay. So I guess I didn't finish describing it, but basically, in the morning, Ellie realizes that Sam has turned into a zombie, and he starts attacking her. They burst through the door to the adjoining room, and Joel and Sam are there. And I think Joel, if I
I
don't know
think
if I
Henry
have
is
the
the name of the older brother.
yeah, Henry. Yeah, you're right. I remember that woman who's the leader of the militant group calling him Henry. Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
So, and I think Joel, if I remember correctly, I think Joel is about to kill Sam, but then Henry stops
right.
him, and then he shoots him, and then it's like he did that. It's as if he did that instinctually, because as soon as he
Hmm.
realizes what he's done, he kills himself as the last thing that happens in the episode.
Right. Joel
And
tries to stop him from killing himself, but he is
right,
just too much in the throes of I don't know what trauma that he just can't come to terms with the decision that he made to kill his own brother.
yeah,
Um,
that was such a it was such a quick cut to the actual moment when he shot himself that
hmm
I had to rewind it because it was so quick. It was like half a second.
Yeah,
They do show him shooting itself, but it's for like one frame or some super short period of time.
yeah. It's like almost an instant fade to black after he shoots himself,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's how
So
the
how
episode
was
ends.
so how was that sequence different in the game?
The only difference, it plays out almost exactly the same. The only difference is that Sam didn't tell Ellie he was bit. The
Okay.
audience knows because after Ellie leaves the room, he lifts his pant leg and you see the bite. So you're like, oh shit, he got bitten.
Okay.
In the show, Sam reveals to Ellie that he was bitten. I also wanted to note as well, in the game, Sam is not deaf. He is actually really close to Ellie's age, and they banter quite a bit in the game.
Oh, okay.
So it's a little bit of a different dynamic there. Because
That's
in the
a
show,
that's
it's
sort
more
of
like she's comforting a child.
yeah, it really is. I wonder why they made that change.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Maybe they wanted to make the death of a child more endearing or more shocking,
Yeah, that's
possibly.
entirely possible.
Um,
That
because
honestly
there was,
seems like much more of a drift from the content of the games, from what I understand, than the episodes people are calling woke, which are the gay and lesbian episodes.
well, wait till we get to the lesbian episode because I got a lot to talk about in that
Sure.
one. So that was episode 5. Episode 6 is when they meet the brother, right?
Yeah, Tommy, right?
Yeah, so they travel all across the country. I think the episode opens with they find like these natives, but for lack of a better term, I think they're like Native American couple, like wilding out in the middle of the woods, away from everybody. And then I think Joel and Ellie stumble upon them and like hold them up. and ask them for more information about a camp or whatever. They tell them basically, hey, anybody that goes there never comes back. But he's like persistent and he goes anyway. So they leave, and Ellie steals like 2 rabbits from them. Eventually, they do come across some people with guns who basically hold them up. And was it it's actually his wife. Okay, so he gets held up by a woman who is the same actress from True Blood.
Oh yeah, which one? Which one?
Tommy's wife.
Oh, okay. I didn't recognize her because I've only seen, I think I watched the first 2 or maybe 3 seasons of that show years and
Well,
years
she's
ago. So
definitely, yeah, she's definitely in the show from the start.
okay, okay, yeah, I didn't remember.
But yeah, she holds them up with a group of dudes on horseback, and then they get taken to their walled city. And once he reaches the city, he sees his brother, and that kind of reduces the tension between him and the armed group because the lady who held him up is actually Tommy's fiance. I don't know. I think they are married at this point.
Yeah, I
Um,
think so. Yeah.
so one of the things about this episode, we start to see the effects, I guess, of I don't know if you want to call it PTSD or whatnot, but Joel is starting to lose confidence in himself in being able to deal with his mission of escorting Ellie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so Ellie gets to learn a little bit more about Joel. In Tommy's house, I think there's a picture of Joel's daughter or something,
Right.
which I
Yeah,
don't even
and
know how
she.
that's even possible.
Oh yeah, that's a good fucking point.
Where are they getting a picture of Joel's daughter from? But anyway,
They could
um,
have. I guess they didn't take pictures with them and anything when they fled their house in episode 1.
no,
Yeah, they would
that's
have
why
had
it's
to
a little
go.
suspect.
Then maybe that's the plot hole. They would have had to go all the way back there, and they're at. I mean, they would have had to either go there before they essentially moved to Wyoming, or go to Wyoming and then go all the way back there to get memorabilia. Yeah.
It's either that or I might be mistaken and it might be just Joel's daughter's name is there and then Ellie
I
asks, "Who's
seem
this?"
I
And
seem to
then
remember there being a picture too, though.
there were pictures on the wall, yes. But it might be possible it's just the name of Joel's daughter was
Yeah,
there.
could be.
But anyway, Ellie learns about Joel's daughter and then there's some tension between Joel and his brother. And we kind of learn a little bit about their backstory. And we find out that through Tommy, that Joel did a lot of bad shit
Yeah.
in the past. And from what it sounded what Tommy was explaining, they definitely murdered people.
Yeah.
And Tommy was like not okay with that at all.
Yeah.
Joel's justification was they had to do that to survive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and basically that's a great dynamic in any post-apocalyptic show or movie or book like The Walking Dead or The Stand or anything else, that basically anyone can use that justification. I did what I had to do to survive. So it basically makes it kind of seems like it makes morality even more subjective than it already is. Like, you're doing the right thing for your small group of people, but it's totally the wrong thing to other people, and vice versa.
Yeah, it seems like this entire show is about the grayness of morality and how to balance that.
Yeah, that's one of the that's one of the main reasons that I like post-apocalyptic stories. That's and because it's a fascinating philosophical reason, that gets really well explored in the type of fiction that you and I pay attention to, like horror and sci-fi and fantasy explore those questions of moral philosophy really well.
Hmm. So, yeah, so there is a crisis of confidence brewing within Joel. And finally, he asks his brother, and he actually spills the beans about what Ellie is and how important it is for Ellie to be transported to the place that she needs to go. Um, so I forgot to mention that Tommy's a former Firefly. And it sounds like he's living the life now in this little
Yeah,
town.
they kind of have
He,
their little somewhat separatist utopia.
right. And it's not, he's back into as close to normalcy as he can get to in this, fucked up world. And
Hmm.
he's kind of achieved that.
Yeah.
And seeing his brother come back around, it's like, uh-oh, what kind of bad shit is this guy going to get me into next?
Yeah, he always comes with trouble.
So it almost seems like Tommy may have chosen the Fireflies to get away from his own brother.
Oh, I
I don't
didn't think
know.
about that. Yeah, that's entirely possible.
Um, it sounded like the Fireflies had a righteous cause to believe in instead of like thieving and murdering to survive. Maybe he just needed something else to strive for instead of that. And then it also sounds like he got disillusioned from the Fireflies as well. So,
Yeah, yeah. Like they're not he basically, it sounds like he learned that they're not any better than Fedra.
right. So, yeah, he gets tasked with taking Ellie. Um, there's a big argument that happens between Ellie and Joel. And ultimately, at the end of during the argument, Ellie tries to bring up his dead daughter. This doesn't sit well at all with Joel.
Yeah, yeah. He's very emotionally closed off about it, obviously.
Yeah, and he kind of leaves the conversation by saying to Ellie, you're not my daughter,
Hmm.
as he's using these as like choice words to kind of like alienate his feelings for her or what feelings he may or may not have. When I say feelings, it's like the feelings of being a father figure, which she clearly, has been relying on him in that way at this point.
Yeah.
Um, so after their argument, next day Tommy goes to pick up Ellie, and they get ready. They go to the horse stable, and guess who's there? It's Joel, and he gives
Hmm.
Ellie the choice. He's like, "Hey, you could go with Tommy," and he doesn't even really finish the sentence, and Ellie just automatically like chooses him.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Because
So,
we see, so obviously we're seeing throughout the series I guess the reluctant growth of their relationship as him being a replacement father figure, and her being a surrogate father daughter figure, which he is obviously super reluctant about until basically the last episode. And she wants that more than he does throughout the show. until the last episode again, which is the only time that that's dynamic seems sort of reverse, which we'll get to.
Right. So they head out. Eventually, they reach the place that they were supposed to go to, and they see that the area is just cleared out, and the fireflies that were there have moved on. And while they're rifling through the fireflies' former laboratory, they get accosted by some scavengers.
Yes.
Eh,
This was what I think this was. I think you might have said this was your favorite episode, and this is one of my favorite episodes too, because it's so fucked up.
Yeah. So he is. Well, actually, this is not that next episode yet. This is the end.
Oh, I'm confusing groups.
No, this is actually the episode you're talking about is like 2 episodes away.
Oh, okay.
Um, so we're still in the 6th episode. So at the end of the 6th episode, as they're fleeing this group that had accosted them, Joel gets stabbed.
Right.
They do get away, but Joel is not able to sit in the saddle, and he just kind of falls out and onto the ground.
Yeah, and you can see that he's very close to death from that stab wound.
Yeah, and this is like, wow, what a predicament. You got this, I think she's like 14 or 15-year-old to fend on her own, out in the post-apocalypse in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Um,
And she doesn't even know where she's going.
no, not at all. So, going into the next episode, episode 7, she attempts to, this is like an interesting episode
The lesbian
because this is
episode.
this is a flashback episode.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm going to say about this episode. It is almost exactly 1-to-1 with the game. So anyone that complains about wokeness
Oh,
and
really?
shit, this is,
I didn't
yeah,
know that.
this is like almost exact from the game. So
Okay.
the game came out with DLC, downloadable content that was released after the game's release.
I was talking to Jared from Wisecrack about this, and he said that that this whole thing only came from that.
Yeah, so this whole episode is actually a downloadable episode, from the game. So it is definitely part of the canon from this game. So I did get a chance of watching that downloadable content that is part of the game, and it's basically 1-to-1.
Okay.
The only difference is that instead of one zombie, they deal with a bunch of them. It's
Okay.
not just the one that attacks them. They go through a pretty big ordeal in the game. But
I'm becoming more and more convinced all the time that this, like, people accusing the show of being woke is just fucking paranoia because you think that there being homosexual characters makes something woke even if they were already in the original content on which it's based.
yeah, so they're already in the original game. Like her love interest is basically looks just like the character from the game. So it's not like they did any race swapping or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it's funny because that particular DLC does the same thing where you have Ellie who's kind of remembering this past instance in her life while she's trying to take care of Joel. There are
Yeah,
a few things that they cut out though, and they're not things that would make the show any better.
okay, like what?
Well, there are points during the game where you're back in the present and Ellie in order to find supplies to keep Joel alive, she has to go and wander around and um, she like fights zombies and stuff. That stuff does not happen in the show, obviously.
Okay.
Um, the game though, Ellie seems to be way much more of a badass because you get to control her.
Okay.
So she's like stabbing fools in the neck and killing zombies left and right. You're like, oh shit, she's pretty
Okay.
hardcore. Uh,
Sweet.
but yeah, it's the same thing though for the most part. You have the present moment of Joel being sidelined, down and out, and Ellie reminiscing about the instance in which she was bitten. So everything is there. So do you want to explain? So this whole episode is kind of a flashback into Ellie's life.
Yeah.
And what the
Well,
flashback is exactly is one of her friends who went missing comes back and they kind of go on a little adventure.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's an interesting episode. And I like the way that they did it too, kind of intercutting back and forth between between her trying to help Joel and also be able to save herself,
Hmm.
and her flashback, and we see that she used to be in Fedra, and she presumably was going to escape with the Fireflies with her friend, and then she has her first kiss with a girl. And I think this is also the same episode where right at the beginning we have an even earlier flashback with Ellie's mother giving birth to her while being attacked by a zombie.
Is it this one?
Is it
It
episode
might
8?
be it might be the next episode. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
No, no, no. You
Yeah.
know what? I think it's the last episode because it becomes actually really relevant to the end.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
And well, I mean, yeah, I like this one. Like if we're talking about the so-called woke episodes that are not actually woke, I like this one more than episode 3 because of all of the other stuff that happens, like the intercutting back and forth between the present day and the flashback, and also what her life was like before this main part of the story, and
Mhm.
that she's going to escape with her friend, and then we see that she ends up being the first person who she's forced to kill because she's been bitten by a zombie. Yeah, it's
Right.
an interesting episode.
Yeah. The things that are different between this episode and the third, the other episode that people were complaining about, is that this episode focuses mainly on the main character of the story.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
Bill and what's his name?
Frank.
Yeah, Bill and Frank weren't really like main characters of the story. They were just kind of
Right.
these side characters that are forgotten after that episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and plus this is definitely portrayed in the game as well. So to be
Right.
honest, there's not really much to complain about because this was in the game. It,
Yeah. Yeah,
um,
I can see that. There's more of a reason to complain about episode 3 because it's about secondary characters, but
yeah,
it's still establishing the backstory of characters that matter to the main characters in that particular episode.
right, right. I know they changed the story of Frank and Bill up a bit, but to be honest, I think that change works better for the show than it would have had they left the kind of original content in. So it just makes more of a compelling storytelling experience because if they had left the original, all it would have been is they meet Frank and they spend an entire episode fucking around in the city and killing zombies
Right.
um, to find a battery for a car. you know, I don't know if you could stretch that out for an hour and make it interesting.
Yeah, I
Mostly
can
not
see.
my.
Yeah, if you're going to build out the backstory of characters, that makes much more sense to do that in a story, and there's less of a need for it in a game, obviously.
Right, right. Because I know they did take liberties with Henry and Sam's story in order to stretch that out a bit. Of course, they took liberties with Frank and Bill. But after after this, I would say once we get past Bill and Frank, everything is pretty much one to one with the game. One
Okay.
of the things I forgot to say is that as far as Tommy and his town, the only difference in the game is that Tommy's town is located in a dam, and they're able to power everything because they use the dam's power generation capabilities to power the town.
Right.
In the case of the show, it's just like some little town in the middle of some valley,
Okay.
a little cutaway town. But there's not much of a difference, and it's not a difference that really affects the story at all.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
that doesn't really seem like a major consequential change.
yeah, so the significance of this episode is that while Ellie meets and experiences romance from what it seems like the first time,
Yeah,
it's also an extremely traumatic experience.
certainly. Yeah. She has her first kiss and has to kill that person in the same night.
Yeah, so if we remember earlier in the series, Joel asked Ellie if she had ever killed anyone before. We get to see it. What we get to see the incidents in which she had to like kill her first zombie and everything.
Right. So we know that she is definitely already killed before that time.
Right. Which is why when we see Ellie just kind of do kill zombies in such a way that's, you know, like experience. Like, remember when she went in the basement and fucked around with that zombie?
Hmm.
We're like, what is she doing? And then she just kind of stabs it in the head like nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's at that point I was like, this girl's either disturbed or this is not her first rodeo.
Yeah. It's not her first rodeo. She's
No, we find
certainly
out it's
not
not.
as adept of a killer as Joel, but she's maybe like halfway there. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's
In
pretty
the game,
difficult
you would
to.
say halfway for sure.
Okay, so
She
maybe
actually
quarter of the
does.
way there in this.
Yeah, there's way more combat involving Ellie in the game.
Okay.
But
I mean,
we'll talk
it
to
has
that
to
just at
be
this.
okay. Yeah, it has to be
Yeah.
pretty fucking difficult to kill fast moving zombies with a knife.
Right. So, so this episode concludes with her and her friend getting bit, and she, of course, survives the bite. And it kind of ends there, but it goes back into reality, into the present. And Ellie, at this point, had been frustrated, and she seemed like she was going to walk away, and leave Joel.
Hmm.
But she persevered, and she's like, "Let me go ahead and see what I can do." She actually stitches them up, which is like, that's movie magic, whatever. I'm not going to criticize it too much. As if a guy gets stabbed in the belly, there's probably going to be internal bleeding and all that crap.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, yeah.
It,
Him surviving the stab wound does seem unlikely, especially given how long it went untreated, how long it took her to get supplies to be able to patch him up and all that.
I'll give him a pass, though. That's
Yeah.
just movie magic.
Hmm.
But yeah, she perseveres and she patches him up. The episode, however, and that's how it ends, right? And then the next episode is our favorite. I believe it's your favorite and my favorite. And it's also pretty much one-to-one with the game as well.
Okay.
So, this episode starts with Ellie. She's hunting some deer.
And this is the pedophile cannibal cult episode.
Yeah, it's pretty disturbing. But this episode, she's out. She's hunting for deer. She gets one, but it gets away. So she finally tracks it down, and there's like two dudes who have found her kill, and they're about to jack her kill, and she comes across them and holds them up at gunpoint. So in order to plead for their lives, he offers her some antibiotics for trade, and they go and they take shelter. The guy that she holds hostage for the antibiotics, he's some type of self-styled preacher of some sort, and he kind of tells her that he believes like they're surviving because God willed it, basically.
That's always creepy in post-apocalyptic shows when there are these super fundamentalist religious cult leaders. Sometimes it can be a good thing though, like Mother Abigail in The Stand. But then but then it can be terrifying like this guy. And another Stephen King example that I thought of that's the opposite of Mother Abigail in The Stand is more like this guy in The Last of Us. There's this woman in The Mist who basically starts her own creepy religious cult among some of the survivors when they're in a grocery store, in which almost the entire story of The Mist takes place in the book. At least I haven't seen the movie.
Okay. I know, yeah, it could be hit and miss when it comes to preachers. It seems like either they're extraordinarily evil or they're extraordinarily good.
Yeah, they tend to be that in a post-apocalyptic stories.
Because I know in The Walking Dead, there's like the dude that got like caught by the cannibals. Who was like a preacher. Do you remember him?
Yeah, he was a really good guy, right?
Yeah, and he got bitten. And he was like, yeah, he was a good guy. He wasn't like a bad preacher. He was a good preacher.
Yeah.
But he got bitten, and like the cannibals caught him, and they started eating out his leg or something like that. And he's like laughing at him. It's like, I've been bitten.
Oh, I forgot he died that way. Yeah, fucking brutal death.
Yeah, because I think they chopped his leg off and ate it.
Okay.
And he was laughing at that because he knew he was gonna die. Yeah, he got caught by cannibals. It's like, what else is gonna happen to him?
Yeah.
So he's like laughing at the cannibals. He's like, you guys are gonna die now because I've been bitten and he ate my infected flesh.
Oh,
and I think they start vomiting it up. And I was kind of pissed because I was wanting them to die from eating.
Man, if I were him, I wouldn't have told them. I would have just laughed, but not told them why I was laughing.
Yeah.
To make sure they would fucking die from consuming my flesh.
Yeah, so they vomited it up, and then I think they killed him after that. But yeah, preachers usually get a bad rap in post-apocalyptic stories. This is one where they get a bad rap. So once the guy comes back, before the guy comes back to deliver the antibiotics, the preacher tells her that talks about the difficulties of living, and that he mentions to her that a man with a little girl had killed one of his friends. And she goes like on guard with the quickness after hearing that. And it's basically like, a warning to her. So after she gets the antibiotics, they let her go, right? And she makes it as quickly as she can back to Joel, who's still somewhat incapacitated at this point. Like he's sewn up and everything, but he is not fully functional.
Wait, hasn't she not? Has she sewn him up at this point? Did she sew him
Yeah,
up
he's been sewn
before?
up. Yeah, he's already
Okay.
been sewn up. He's
Oh, okay.
recovering.
She sewed him up before going to look for the antibiotics.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So he's pretty messed up at this point. And so yeah. She goes back, and while she's in her place, she hears outside that the men that were looking for her are out and about. So she has very limited time to react, and her plan is she wants to lead them away from Joel. Before she leaves, she gives Joel a knife and tells him, "Hey, save yourself, survive." Um, her plan backfires.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the cannibals capture her, and she gets thrown into a cage. Um, and she discovers what they're really about. So she sees like the butcher table. And did she find a hand or like a foot under the table or something like that? Some type of human appendage.
Yeah,
Or an
something like
ear or
that.
something.
Yeah, I don't remember what specifically it was, but yeah, some sort of human appendage.
And she puts two and two together and discovers that she's basically in a cannibal cult and she's been
Yeah.
captured. She's probably going to become their next snack.
Yeah. And we find out in him and the other few guys who are there explaining this to her that it's kind of like a secret cannibal cult because it's only the leader and a few of his right hand men rather who even are or even know the truth, which is that they have been eating people. The rest of the cult doesn't know that, and they just lie to them and say that it's venison. Like as soon as I found this out, I thought back to the beginning of the episode when the woman who's the cook in the kitchen with the other guy, when she gets brought some cubed meat, she asks, "What kind of meat is this?" And he says, "Venison." I immediately thought back to that part, and I was like, "Holy shit, that was definitely not venison."
That was person.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I would think human meat probably tastes like pork. I don't know. That's
I don't know.
what people say that when people cook, they smell like bacon or pork.
Yeah.
Who
Well, we
knows? I wouldn't
are. I mean,
know.
it depends. I guess it depends on the person. Maybe we are kind of fat animals in some way. I don't know.
Well, it's just
Oh
like
yeah, wasn't it
because
something like some cannibals call humans long pig?
long pig.
Yeah, I don't remember where I heard that.
Well,
Yeah.
I think pig is like very close to human because pigs don't have fur for the most part.
Yeah, of course.
Um, like we can use pig organs. Some pig organs can go into our
Most people
body.
aren't gonna believe they're eating venison if it tastes like pig.
Right. So I don't know what these people are thinking. Maybe they're putting like a lot of spices in there. Who knows?
I wonder if I'll get put on some government watch list if I Google what does human flesh taste like.
um, I don't know. Maybe there's if you put that, it's probably going to talk about Papua New Guinea or something like that. But
Yeah.
so she gets captured. The preacher tries to convince her to become his wife or something.
Yeah, he wants to make her his child bride. Fucking creepy.
Right. So it's weird because Ellie in order to get close to him, she pretends to feign some type of empathy for that idea.
Yeah,
But
and you
as
can
he
tell that
gets
she's doing that too, and it's fucking creepy also.
creepy, yeah, it's super creepy. And they like touch hands, and he comes in close, and then she like, does she bite him?
I don't remember. I think maybe she
She
does.
attacks him in some form or fashion in order to get at the keys. And at that point, he calls off this marriage and indicates that she's going to be turned into tiny chunks of meat.
Right. Oh, she's just commented on our video and said, "Damn, that's a mighty beard."
I see that.
Thanks, bro. That's what
Um,
I'm saying.
so at the same time that this is happening, we cut back to Joel, and he's still laid up, and we start to hear the search party because they're still looking for Joel. They know he's around, so they're not finished. So there is still a search party in town looking for him because he's the one that killed their buddy. So they want to bring him to justice, so to speak, even though it's them who attacked Joel first in the first place. So as one of their lackeys creeps down into the basement, Joel is like missing. He's like, oh shit, he got up, and then he ends up
Yep.
killing the dude.
Yep.
I think he kills like a couple people in that basement.
Yeah, I think he kills 2 or 3, maybe, because he stabbed that first guy because we can tell he's just still incoherent. He just
Hmm.
throws his body weight into him to still be able to kill him with the knife because he's presumably so weak from just recovering from recently healing from being stabbed. And then he goes upstairs, and I think he ties up the first guy and lures the second guy into a trap or something like that, and tortures one guy and then kills both of them. I don't remember the exact details of all that.
Well, it looks like I think the guy in the basement is dead. He kills that one.
Okay.
And then there's a guy upstairs, and he's out in the yard, and he's like looking for his buddy, and we see like Joel attack him from behind, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I guess he somehow captures a third person, but he does an interrogation. The interrogation goes exactly as it does in the game, like 1 to 1, even when he stabs a guy like in the knee and everything like that.
Okay.
So he interrogates them, and he is ruthless as fuck, man.
Yeah.
He's like, well, he hands one of them like a knife to point out where they were keeping Ellie on the map,
Right.
and then right after he points it out, he kills the guy.
Yeah, and
And he,
he's telling the guy as he's telling him to point it out on the map, point it out, and if he doesn't point to the same place, I'm killing you. And then he points it out, and then he kills him anyway. And then what happens?
yeah, so he kills the other guy. He tells the other guy, "Oh, I believed him," and he just kills him instead of having him point out the other place on the map.
Hmm.
At this point, we just go back to Ellie, and they're about to put her on the chopping block, so to speak. And right, they're about to like kill her, and before
Hmm.
that happens, she tells them that she's infected,
Yeah.
and they don't believe her. And she's like, "Yeah, look at my arm." And he takes a look, and okay, this is now that I'm remembering when Ellie attacked him, she bit him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so when she shows the preacher her infected arm, he tells the preacher, now you're infected too.
Oh, right, right.
And this kind of like stuns the preacher, and he's like, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah.
And while they're kind of bewildered about her situation, she grabs the other dude's knife and just like chops him in the neck.
I think it's a hatchet.
Yeah,
He grabs his
it's like one of
isn't
those flat-edged butcher knives.
oh, is it? I thought it was an axe or a hatchet.
No, it's one of those big flat like butcher knife like
Okay.
type knives that are like the ones you use to chop like big bones and stuff.
Okay.
Because they were gonna like cut her up. So she chops the dude in the neck and she quickly escapes while the preacher fires a gun at her.
Mm.
Um,
I don't know
and
why, but it seems particularly brutal to me in movies and TV shows and books when someone stabs someone, but they don't pull out the blade and they just leave it in there and push them against a wall or something for them to die.
right, the the big chopping knife is like stuck in his neck,
Yeah.
and he just kind of slides down the wall and bleeds out. Pretty accurate to what, like, so far, most of the stuff that is happening on screen is the same stuff that's happening in the
Okay.
game. There are some differences. Like, the differences that I would say in at this section, Ellie does spend a lot of time sneaking around and trying to get out of that camp in the game. And I swear to God, in the gameplay footage that I watched, she just like stabbed like 10 dudes
Holy
in the
shit.
neck. Yeah, she's just like killing dudes left and right while sneaking around. But here, she escapes into what looks like some type of lodge, and evil preacher man kind of corners her in this lodge,
And there's
and she
another
start
especially creepy part.
yeah. I think she knocks over something and starts a fire. So they're in a burning lodge, and he's stalking her throughout this lodge, right? Um,
Wow, I just realized how much my bong is creating the stoner ambience right now by making smoke travel across the screen.
so he's hunting her, and he finally gets to her, and I think he's gonna try to like rape her while this building is burning down.
Yeah, certainly seems like that's what he's trying to do.
Right. Before he got on top of her, she did like slash at him with a knife, and she got disarmed after that. So during the attempted rape, I think she reaches out and finds like a knife and starts stabbing the hell out of the dude.
Yeah, she like rages out and jumps on top of him and stabs him, I don't know, stabs him aggressively at least a dozen times. As you
Yeah,
often see happening in brutal shows like this, where someone just rages out and stabs the fuck out of someone, gets covered in their blood.
yeah. So she is covered in blood. She is she is extremely traumatized. She's exiting the burning lodge, and right outside the lodge is Joel. What did you notice different about their interaction here when they came back together?
Um, I don't remember.
I think he hugs her and he says something to he says like something like, "It's okay, baby, I'm here."
Oh, okay. Oh,
Like
so
he says something like
this
super
is where he's
affectionate.
starting to lean more into the father role.
Right, the father role. So this is definitely my favorite episode of the season. I liked that they bucked the trope that, oh, Joel's gonna come in and save the day. That's
Yep.
not what happened. Ellie saved herself. from this rapist.
And that,
Joel's
like, you
role,
can see the building of their relationship too, and him trusting her because she risked her life to save him and wouldn't let him die.
right? And he let nothing stop him in the pursuit of getting Ellie back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it wasn't like before where he could take her or leave her. Now they kind of have this kind of father-daughter bond. Like this is
And
kind
we
of his
see that,
surrogate daughter now.
and we see that way more in episode 8, obviously, right?
Yes. I'm trying to remember what the hell is episode 8. Well, this is episode 8. We're talking about episode 8 right now.
We're about to, yeah.
Um,
That was the
no,
ending.
no,
Of
this
episode 7.
is episode 8.
With I thought the cannibal, the pedophile cannibal cult was episode 7.
No, a lesbian is the 7th episode.
Oh, right. Yeah, there are 9 episodes in the season. I'm getting confused because
Right.
there are 9 episodes in the season. I was thinking there are 8. Yeah, episode 9 was what I was thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love that episode. My favorite of the season for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I like that they kind of bucked the savior trope, and we got to see kind of what their relationship was building into. Next episode, a lot of it is spent traveling, and it's a bit of a slower paced episode.
Until the end.
Until the end, yeah. A lot of what's going on in this episode is we can kind of see that Ellie seems kind of down. I assume that's because she knows that once she reaches the Fireflies, or at least she thinks, that her and Joel are going to part ways.
Yeah.
I know during this last episode they encounter a giraffe. And that's pretty much 1-to-1 with the game that happened.
Apparently that was some sort of iconic part in the game that people really wanted to be in the show for some reason.
Well, they played it exactly like the game.
Okay.
Like, even, I swear, like the little vista that they show is pretty close to what the game had, you know?
In the background?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the game, there's more to this area because they actually fight quite a few zombies in this part of the game. I know there's not many. I don't think there's any zombies, is there, in this episode? I don't think so.
None that I can remember.
Yeah. I think they're just kind of. We can see Joel is being a lot more open, a lot more playful, and a lot more of fulfilling the dad role. And we could see
Yes.
that he's trying to, like.
He's more positive than he's been throughout the entire series.
Yeah, it's like he's a completely different person almost.
Mm-hmm.
At least with Ellie. He's talking about, their little jokes that they play, talking about playing games, the type of things that a dad would say to a daughter, And she's kind of like zoning out a little bit because, she thinks she's going to have to go with the Fireflies, and that's kind of like the end of the journey.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. So, yeah, the first half of this episode is just them traveling through the city. And then they actually get accosted by what we find out are some fireflies. And he gets knocked out. Like they hit him with the butt of a rifle. And then he wakes up and looks like a hospital room or something. And he was separated from Ellie. One of the things we forgot to talk about, though, and I'm sorry that we skipped over that, is the cold open for this episode.
Oh, right.
Shows Ellie's mom.
Yeah, that's the part that I thought was in episode 7.
Yeah, that was in this episode. So we get to see the circumstances of why Ellie is immune. Um, and I guess the reason why she's immune is that her mom was bitten shortly, like an hour or two before she gave birth.
Yeah.
And for some reason, this made Ellie immune. That's kind of my hypothesis.
It kind of seems like that that has to be the most plausible possibility based on like the circumstances you described and what happens in the show.
Right. So this is not a part of the game, by the way. This is something that was invented for the show. So that cold open is, I think, is a good addition to the show, actually. So anyway, Marlene is the one who was friends with Ellie's mom, and Marlene takes Ellie, and that's the end of the cold open. Um, Ellie's mom asks Marlene to kill her. At first, she's like reluctant and says no. But then she couldn't just leave her there to get turned into a zombie, so she actually does go
And
and kill her.
does she leave and then come back, or am I confusing
She
that with a
leaves and
different?
comes back, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Like she takes the baby. There's another firefly out there, and he tells the firefly cover the baby's ears, and then she goes back in and she shoots her.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was kind of integral to this next scene where Joel wakes up, talks to Marlene, and Marlene basically explains to Joel that she's known Ellie ever since she was a baby, and they kind of find out why she might be immune.
Mm-hmm.
In that they have to extract the cordyceps from Ellie and then study that. Joel makes the remark that, well, the cordyceps infection is in the brain. And that basically gives us the implication that if they extract that, that's going to be Ellie's death.
Yeah, because you have to extract spores from the human brain. It seems borderline impossible to do that without basically at least turning someone into a complete vegetable, if not easily killing them.
Right. So it's understandably like Joel's super upset. And Marlene tells her firefly lackey to escort him off the property. During that, Joel gets a hold of, well, he attacks the guard, and then that's when his rampage starts.
This is the part. This is the part that reminded me more of a video game than any other part in the entire series so far. Because
he kills a bunch of people.
Yeah, because he kills a bunch of people and then runs out of ammo, drops a gun, and gets someone else's gun, and then keeps doing that. That particular action, shoot someone, you run out of ammo, you need to drop that gun and take this other guy's gun, and then until you run out of ammo and need another gun.
Yeah, that does happen a lot in the game, but most of the time they do not include that in the show.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about like 30 minutes of zombie killing or people killing, one or the other.
Yeah.
But yeah, they kept that part into the game because that does happen in the game. You go throughout the hospital and escape and kill like a bunch of fireflies.
Okay.
Yeah, ending is 1-1. So he gets out to the bottom and he's stopped by Marlene. He tries to make a last-ditch effort to convince Joel that the right thing to do would be to give up Ellie to save the human race. And Joel is like faking it, like he's going to do what Marlene says. But then he has a pistol hidden in his other hand, and he shoots her dad.
Yeah, and he said you would just come after her.
Yeah, you're just gonna come after her, so no.
Yeah.
So
I like
he
the
kills
I
her.
like the ending of this episode because you really see the solidification of their relationship as basically substitute father and daughter.
Hmm. So yeah, they ride off in the sunset, and just like Ellie wakes up and she kind of questions Joel's story.
Yeah, and he basically tells her bullshit.
Yeah, he lies to her. Yeah, he tells her that the facility was attacked by zombies and they barely got out alive and everyone else is dead.
Yeah.
And that they're going back to Tommy's to live
Hmm.
out their life for the rest of their days.
Which I doubt
Um,
is as simple as what's going to happen in the story.
no, so I believe there's probably going to be a season two. I will have to go watch game footage. I think I will. I'm trying to debate whether I should watch the game first. It's uh, just watch the show and wait till it comes out. Because for the most part, I did watch the show before seeing the game. I just went back to the game to confirm like how close to the show it was or to the game it was.
I just Googled how many seasons of The Last of Us will there be. It seems like
I don't know how they're
a
going to do more
second
than two because there's only
seems
two
like
games.
a second season is on the way. It likely won't cover the whole of the second game, pretty much confirming that season 3 will also be happening.
So they're
Um,
gonna cut it in half
it's
then.
it sounds like there might be 2 or 3 seasons.
Okay. Yeah, they're gonna try to cut it in half. So that sounds like.
Yeah. So
Well,
is season 1 though pretty in terms of the story? Does it pretty much line up with the entirety of the first game?
yeah, season one ends right when the game ends, so it's
Okay.
self-contained within that one game plus the DLC that
Okay.
included
So they're
the
doing
first game episode.
more of the Twilight slash Hunger Games slash Harry Potter approach and splitting the last one into 2 parts.
I guess so. I also know that the Last of Us fans are very divided over the second game. There are a lot of people that
Yeah,
didn't like the second
I've
game.
heard that it's controversial for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, the first game is universally loved, but the second game has kind of like a split. Um, and who knows how I will fall in that split. There's no way for me to know. So it's just half of the people, like a lot of the people that I follow who are like game streamers and stuff like that, absolutely hated the direction of the second game.
Okay. In
A
terms of
lot
the
of game
story,
journalists, yeah, it seems with the story and how certain characters are portrayed. Um, I heard Joel becomes like a bad guy or some shit like that. I'm not even because he's like a
hmm,
beloved character
okay.
in the first game. You know, he's
Hmm.
the hero. He's the guy who kind of redeems his past wrongs by saving this little girl from being a science experiment.
Hmm.
You know,
And that's so interesting too because he kind of makes the opposite decision of the decision that the good guy usually makes in whatever story we're talking about. Like a good example is some of the decisions that Holden makes in The Expanse. He's basically just got this solidified moral code, which he bends more and more as the series progresses and makes more of the consequentialist decision of sacrificing some for others. But because Joel and Ellie's relationship has grown so much, he's essentially as what was her name? Mary. the name that starts with an M?
Marlene.
Marlene. Yeah, as she was saying, he's basically willing to sacrifice the entire human race and not cure the zombie spore disease so that she can survive. So he's not willing to sacrifice one person to save the entire human race, which is really interesting.
Yeah, and he straight up lies to Ellie and tells her, yeah, they found dozens of immune people, and they believe that people will become naturally immune, and the experiments failed or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and a lot of
Wonder.
people, like when parsing opinions online, I haven't seen any opinion that says they would have sacrificed Ellie to the Fireflies.
Okay.
Like every person that I've seen comment on the ending of this says they probably would have done the same thing that Joel did.
If you care about someone that much, then you would make that decision, I think.
Right, right. And they make you care about the characters that much to make it so that you're okay with that decision in the end. Like the audience is okay with that decision.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I am. I'm okay with that decision. It just seems way too fucked up to sacrifice.
It's so
life.
interesting. That's why morality is so complex.
Right. I think the worst part of it is like she did not volunteer to be a science experiment.
Exactly.
You know? It's different if she did volunteer, but she didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And one of the things I forgot to mention is that Marlene and Ellie were on much better terms in the game than they were in the show.
Oh, okay.
As if we remember when we first meet Ellie, she's being held captive.
Right.
In the game, she's not being held captive. She has allied herself with the Fireflies.
Okay.
At that point in the game, in the story.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so what did you think about this first season of The Last of Us?
I thought it was really good for the most part. Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah, I can't think of any other good post-apocalyptic shows that I've seen recently, other than The Stand, the adaptation of the Stephen King book. And yeah, I love post-apocalyptic zombie shows in particular. So I think this one's really good.
Yeah, one of the things I like about this is we know that there's going to be a definite ending point. You know, it's not going to be like The Walking Dead, where they're going to like.
How many seasons are there now? Like 11, I think,
have no
maybe.
Fucking clue, man. I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure there are at least 11 seasons now.
Yeah, I like stopped watching a while ago.
Yeah, there are 11. There are 11 seasons. I think I bailed near the beginning of season 8.
Oh no, I bailed way before then. I think I bailed once. I think they got to a town. Like there was that one guy who pretended to be a scientist, and then they got to some town and they settled there for a while, and that's where I bailed.
Oh, Alexandria?
Yeah, that's when I bailed, when they were in Alexandria.
Oh, I think that might be season 5 or 6.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I bailed before he did.
Okay.
I was like, man, this is repetitive. It's like they keep doing the same shit.
Yeah, I know.
You know,
exactly.
The same shit just keeps happening.
Yeah.
I was like, man, really? This is just like when they're at the prison. It's like it's the same thing, just a different setting.
Yep.
And that's kind of when I bailed. I might go back to it just to see what happens. Now that I can watch Netflix shows at 1.5 speed.
Right.
So who knows? I might get back to it. We'll see. But
I don't know.
I know this is going to go on for 11 seasons.
I think I bailed on The Walking Dead at some point in season 6 or 7, and then I decided to try it again and finish season 7 and try season 8. But then I watched the first maybe 3 or so episodes of 8, and I just thought, every one of these episodes has been terrible so far. I'm bailing now.
Yeah, I've watched so many different post-apocalyptic shows. Like I remember this one called Jeremiah. Do you remember that?
No, I'm not sure if I've even heard of that one.
Jeremiah had Malcolm Jamal Warner and Luke Perry as like the main protagonist of the show.
Who's Malcolm Jamal Warner?
He's the guy that played Theo on the Cosby Show.
Oh, okay. I've barely even seen that show. I've probably only seen a few episodes or so.
Oh, I grew up on the Cosby Show, so I know all about it. I used to watch
Hmm.
it every day.
I should watch it knowing the full reality of the history of Bill Cosby now. It probably would make the show kind of darkly comedic, perhaps.
Yeah, it was a good family show when it came on. Um, but yeah, Cosby is a dark individual.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think Jeremiah. There's this other one I saw that had like, what was its name? It took place in like the Midwest, and there was like a nuclear war. At least that's what was alluded to. And I think like the last season, the town over found the tank or something, and they started
Oh, okay.
terrorizing them. Uh, and there's this one alien apocalypse show that I watched. I forgot what it's called. I think it was like Dark Skies or some shit like that.
Okay.
I don't remember. It was pretty good, but it was like a alien invasion, but it was also apocalyptic. So
That's interesting.
yeah, it's an interesting premise that you have this post-apocalypse, but it's humans hiding from aliens. As the
Oh,
aliens
okay.
get round up to humans to like, I don't know, harvest them for some
I think
reason or another.
that happens in the A Quiet Place movies and Bird Box. Well, actually, I
I
guess
never
I'm
only finished the first Quiet Place, and I didn't get around to finishing Bird Box.
Oh, okay. I guess, well, it's not whether Bird Box is about aliens is debatable. It could be monsters from somewhere on Earth, but the Quiet Place movies, it's definitely aliens.
Yeah.
They make that more even more explicitly clear in the at the start of the second one.
I gotta watch the second one. I know the end of the first one is just made me mad.
Yeah, I know. Fucking giant cliffhanger, man. Man, I like the second one just as much as the first one. I fucking love those movies, man. They're some of my favorite horror movies of all time. I
But
think I posted a picture of myself on social media when I watched the second one, and I did my face watching The Last of Us 2, and I did kind of like the Macaulay Culkin type of thing because
so it's that good.
I literally did that so many times when I was watching the movie.
Oh wow. So it's kind of like the edge of your seat type of movie.
Definitely.
That's how I feel about like the entire goddamn Red Rising series.
Holy shit, man. Yeah, especially starting with the second one, right?
Even out the way the third one ends, I was like, I got so pissed off. And then I was like, oh, they tricked me.
Huh.
I got mad when they faked Sevro's death. I was like, fuck. I was like, really? You're gonna kill off Severo? That's horrible.
Yeah.
Um,
Like fake out deaths are so overdone, but they can be done really well too.
well, that one fooled me like hardcore.
I was fooled
Completely.
too.
Even
Yeah.
though it fooled me, and the funny thing is that they telegraphed it, and I just didn't realize it.
They did?
Yeah, because remember, there's that drug that they inject that stimulates like half dead people.
Oh, right. Yeah.
and they used that on several, and they used that before earlier, I think in book 2.
Okay.
And then that drug that they gave several to make him appear dead is the same drug they gave to Darrow to make him appear dead
Oh, okay.
after they hung him. So they gave Darrow
Oh, in
that
book
drug.
1?
Yeah, because they gave
Okay.
him a drug to make him appear dead so that they could spirit him away to get like turned into gold.
I totally forgot about that detail.
So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. They telegraphed the means. They definitely telegraphed the means. So
Okay.
Shiazan is saying that he liked the second game. I have not played the second game, so I
Oh,
don't have an
okay.
opinion on it.
Yeah.
I just
I haven't
heard that
played
it
either of them.
gotten, yeah, I just heard that it gotten like mixed reception.
I watched my
That's
friend
the
play
only
the
thing I've
first
heard.
one once and it looked awesome, but that's the total extent of my experience with the games.
Yeah, I just did I just watched somebody play it on YouTube recently at 1.5 speed. That's all I really did to check out how close it was going to be to the show experience, and it was pretty goddamn close. It's probably the closest video game adaptation I've ever seen. And it always helps that they had the original game director as a executive producer for this particular show, so um, they had him directly involved. All right, man. So, how many stars are you giving this, buddy?
I'd give it 4 stars.
4 stars, 4 to
Yeah.
5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, what are the pros here? So, your pros are great post-apocalyptic adaptation.
Yeah. And I like
Unique.
the slightly different approach to zombies and that they're fast zombies, like the 28 days later style zombies instead of slow zombies.
Right. They seem more hazardous than your run-of-the-mill zombies, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't just like walk through a horde of these things. They're gonna fuck you up. You gotta sneak around. You can't let these things see you.
Shizan said the second game added more complexity and depth and it felt real.
Okay. I'll just have to experience that secondhand, I guess. 'Cause I'm debating whether to wait. I think I'm just gonna watch a playthrough of the game. I don't think I can wait until season 2 to come out.
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah, I
And
like
just
the characters are great too, and the story and the acting and the action. Yeah.
yeah, they did a good job of casting the characters. I actually like the. I would say I like Game Ellie better than Show Ellie, but I like Show Joel better than Game Joel.
Okay. How come?
Um, well, Game Joel, I don't know. I think Show Joel had more character.
Okay.
Like he's a bit. I don't know. He seems a little bit more.
More
I don't
complex?
know. Yeah, a bit more complex. I don't know. Game Joel just seems a little bit more middle of the road type of character where I feel that Game Joel, I don't know. Game Joel leaves, I don't know how to explain it. It just seems that there's not as much character to Game Joel than there is to Show Joel.
Okay.
like shoujo, I think is much more endearing. Like when his scenes are particularly brutal, they are much more brutal. It's just maybe the human depiction of that versus like a 3D model with a voice. I don't know. It's just there's a kind of a difference there.
Okay.
Um, Game Ellie, I think in the very beginning of the show, Ellie got on my nerves.
Yeah.
Just I don't know. There's just something about her that rubbed me the wrong way in the beginning of
She
the
was
show.
kind of like a stereotypical, cynical, annoying teenager.
Yeah, in the beginning of the game, though, Ellie's not really like that. We do start off differently with that character. Like, there's in the show, she's a captive,
Oh,
and in
okay.
the game, she's kind of like an active participant. So there's kind of like a different vibe to Ellie in the game versus the show.
Okay.
But I actually started liking the second half of the game. I think I like show Ellie more than game Ellie.
Okay. Because she's become more of a badass at that point.
Well, both of them become badasses, but I feel that show Ellie's is more realistic than game Ellie.
Okay.
Because game Ellie, you're like stabbing like 10 dudes in the neck, like within 10 minutes.
That
That
does
doesn't
sound much
seem.
more fun for a game.
Yeah, it's fun for a game, but for a show that's not really realistic. You know what I
True.
mean?
Yeah.
Um, I don't think like a 15-year-old can stab like 10 dudes in the neck and not be somewhat traumatized by that.
That was basically the most unrealistic aspect. I think I was telling you a while ago about that new Predator movie called Prey, which takes place hundreds of years ago with Native Americans, and it's the main protagonist is this native girl, and most of the movie does still seem pretty realistic, but there's one part where she kind of beats the fuck out of five fully grown men, which that was the least realistic part of the movie.
Yeah. Shizan says, LOL, I had to bail on that show too. Sad. Never found out how that zombie virus started.
Oh, what
Uh,
I think he means one of
I
the
think
other
might be
shows you were
could be talking
talking about.
about The Walking Dead.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
The
we
Walking Dead we
never.
didn't find out. No.
Well, in season one, it wasn't there something in season one about how it was created in a lab?
I don't remember it being
Didn't they go,
discussed.
or did they? No, wait. They at the end of season one, they went to a lab where there was supposed to be a cure, but there wasn't. Right? Maybe that was
Well,
all
they
there
went to
was.
the
It was.
CDC, but the CDC was like overrun with zombies.
Okay.
The only thing I remember about the show before I bailed is that even if you didn't get bitten, if you die, you come back as a zombie.
Yeah, that was interesting.
So I was like, holy shit, that means no matter what, it doesn't even matter if you get bitten, you're gonna come back as a zombie.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you just die like normal, you're gonna come back as a zombie. Like, oh shit. Um, but yeah, I bailed. It was just too repetitive, that
Yeah,
Walking
it
Dead,
really did
man.
get repetitive. And it
Um,
also got like in season 8, the reason that I bailed was it started kind of like being uh, being like a fucking bipolar show or something. It was alternating between even darker than I can handle, and I can handle some pretty dark shit, and cheesy after school special. It was like alternating between those two polar opposites, it seemed to me.
yeah, it just got a little cheese, man. I like the games. There's this really good adventure game based off of the Walking Dead franchise.
Cool.
I think that game is probably better than any season of the show.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Um, I would highly recommend it to anyone that's into adventure games, point and click adventure games. Um, but yeah, I'd give it a solid. I think I'd give it a 4.5. Um, I'm giving it extra points because of it being so close to the original source material. I think they
Okay.
did really do that source material justice despite all the people complaining about episode 3 and episode 7, even though episode 7 is completely one-to-one canon. It's
Right.
um, just because there's a gay kiss in episode 7, and then in episode 3, it's just like the story of a gay couple surviving in a post-apocalyptic environment, and I don't know. I thought it was an interesting side story. I don't think shows have to stick strictly to like the flow of that source material. They can go off and do a little side story here and there. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
mind. I'd rather
Mm-hmm.
have that included and have a 9 episode season than they would have cut that out and just made it like an 8 episode season.
Yeah. Yeah. Me
I don't
too.
know. There's not really much to
I
complain
mean,
about there.
they're not season or no, not season. Episode 3 is probably still my least favorite episode, but it's worth watching, and it tells you relevant backstory for Bill and Frank, who are the characters that Ellie and Joel are going to see in that episode.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Like episode 3 is not my favorite, but it's not bad.
No, I
I
don't
don't
think
mind
any of the
considering
episodes are
that.
bad. I like every episode. But yeah, like
Yeah.
you, my favorite episode was what was it? 5?
That was 8.
8? Yeah,
8.
8.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
The cannibal cult.
Yes.
Yeah, 8 is an excellent episode. All right. So before we wrap up things, anything interesting reads you had within the past couple weeks?
Yeah, I was telling you I've been reading The Fifth Sorceress, that fantasy book that you wanted to talk about on your channel sometime soon, that apparently has gotten terrible reviews from Daniel Green and other fantasy nerds. And I think I was saying I'll be about 2/3 of the way through it by the end of today, and I think it's pretty good, actually. I definitely don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's amazing, but it's but it's fairly good to me. I think it has some, there are a hell of a lot of common fantasy tropes that it uses and stuff, but I think there are a lot of really interesting details with world building and the plot and characters, and there are
Mhm.
cool battles, and the magic system is interesting, so I like it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were having problems with. I think one of the first problems they encounter is the horse that plays fetch, and then I've heard a lot of people complain that the main character is like a 30-year-old man baby, which I could kind of see like
I
that
mean, he kind of
perspective.
is, but it's
Yeah, he is one. I
but
don't.
he's not one dimensional. He's still better than Richard Rawl in Sword of Truth.
Yeah, Richard Roll's like we got to like the super Ayn Randian book, and
Yeah,
then you kind of bailed after that one.
yeah,
It's like Howard Rourke 2.0.
yep.
I kind of think that that book is closer to um, not Atlas Shrugged. What's the other her other book?
Fountainhead.
Yeah, that I think that book is closer to the Fountainhead than it is to Atlas Shrugged.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because he becomes like this hard Rourke-ish type of figure in
Yeah, he
that
does.
book, where he's
Yeah,
like
in that
the
book in particular.
artist.
Yeah, Yeah.
Yeah. So, so yeah, I am barely getting through this fifth sorceress. I'm trying, man.
You don't
I
like
can't
it?
read as fast as you. No, it's not that I don't like it. It's that I don't can't read as fast as you can.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I know.
It just takes me a while.
Yeah. I read
But yeah, when
about
I'm
two to
not
three
thinking I'm gonna
pages
hate
per
it.
minute, depending on the book and depending on how tired I am and what time of the day it is and how much caffeine I've had and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's fast as fuck, man.
Yeah, I like it. It's literally the only thing I do the only thing I do quickly in my entire life rather.
That's read books.
Yeah.
Everything else is pretty slow and
Yeah,
methodical.
everything else I do agonizingly slowly, but at least I can do one thing quickly.
Okay, okay. Um, so yeah, you've been getting the fit through the fifth sorceress, and is there
Right,
anything else
yeah.
you're checking out?
I also I've been continuing very slowly, just reading one of those short stories a day of that collection of H.G. Wells short stories that I've been reading, and those are pretty good. And we mentioned Golden Sun earlier. I finally finished rereading that, so we can have that as our backup chat for next week, as I was talking about earlier. And yeah, I think we talked. Well, we'll do a much more detailed talk about that on my channel, of course. But yeah, just like with as was the case with the first one for me, I like this one even more upon rereads. And like you were saying, it's just a constant action, super fast paced story with constant excitement.
Yeah, with a super brutal ending.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Man, it's a super good sci-fi fantasy series that becomes more hardcore sci-fi. Yeah, so I don't remember if we talked about this last time, but I finished.
Mhm.
Actually, I think maybe we did. I finished that first book in the what is it? The Mortal Instruments series,
Oh
Mortal
yeah, we
Engines.
talked about that. Mortal Engines,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we talked about you checking that out and enjoying like the world building of that world.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I want to
it's
read
an
books.
interesting world.
I want to read book two soon.
I'll try to get my
And
hand on book two for you.
cool. And yeah, I haven't read book two of Ranger's Apprentice yet. I think I was figuring I'll wait until we're about to talk about that one on your channel, and then I'll listen to it.
Yeah, I think I'm probably gonna listen to that one again before we talk about it again. Because they're short enough books. I think the last time I spent like an evening listening to this first book before we talk about it. And I think I'll just do that same thing with this second book here.
Yeah, that's a
Because
good
I just
idea.
kind of want to refresh myself.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I also read. I was telling you I've been reading that 12-volume History of Middle Earth series, edited by Christopher Tolkien and published posthumously after J.R.R. Tolkien's death, and it's basically it's Christopher Tolkien explaining his father's notes, and he's trying to order them roughly chronologically. And it's interesting because it kind of explains the evolution of the creation of Middle Earth and the story of Lord of the Rings and how things changed and that sort of thing. So this one is this one's called The Treason of Isengard, which is basically about the story in the second half of the Fellowship of the Ring and the Two Towers. And
Hmm.
yeah, it was those are always like they're definitely written in a super fucking boring way, just like the Silmarillion. But so it's like
Right.
reading many, many different Silmarillions. But I'm enough of a Lord of the Rings nerd now that I want to know more and more about the details. So those are interesting just for learning those little bits and pieces of details about the evolution of the story.
Yeah, I know I checked out Children of Heron from my library recently. And I was thinking going through that one
Which
pretty
one?
soon. Children of Huron.
Which one's that?
It's one of Tolkien, like Christopher Tolkien's published books about Parent Huron of Turnbar or whatever his name is.
Oh, that's why it sounds familiar. Okay. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Turn Bar. Yeah, that's an interesting that's an interesting sequence of events with that character.
Um, cool, man.
Yeah. I
Do you have
also
any other
read
things you checked out?
yeah, I also read another one of those books by David Sedaris. It was one that you sent me, which is his nonfiction comedic Christmas book collection of essays, which
Yeah, I want to find.
as usual, I thought most of them were really funny. So yeah, those are always worth reading. I like his books.
No, he's super eccentric. Um, yeah, he just has an interesting comedic mind. Gets himself in these weird, eccentric situations. You're like, okay, man,
Yeah, yeah,
he's
it's
such a
very.
weird guy.
He really is. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I guess the only other book I can think of off the top of my head that I read recently that's worth mentioning is, of course, I reread Animal Farm. I think I read it
mm,
as a physical book before, and so I
uh-huh.
listened to the audiobook this time. And yeah, just like before, it's a fucking awesome book. I don't like it quite as much as 1984, but it's still a fucking awesome book. Yeah, I give it 4 out of 5 stars. And yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
and
like it.
Chris and I are gonna do a chat about that on my channel, hopefully next weekend.
Yeah, Animal Farm's kind of like a diet 1984.
It is,
You
yeah,
know, it's like a mini, like I would say, a kid's version of 1984.
yeah,
But I think even that you can have a kid read Animal Farm, like, and it wouldn't be. Yeah, you can
yeah.
have a kid read that.
You probably could, yeah.
I
There's
don't know if they would
nothing.
understand the message, but you could definitely have a kid read it.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't be disturbing to them either because there's nothing explicitly brutal. The brutal and profound aspects of it are all implied, basically.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Oh man. Well, I've pretty much read most of the same stuff that you've read recently. There's not much I can add on top of that. I think the only thing else that I've read is I actually finished Morning Star, which
Oh,
is
book 3.
really, yeah, that one is top notch as well.
Yeah.
Um, that ending, man, I was like, ah, I was getting upset because I thought it was going to end like book two did, which is like a complete bummer ending. So I was like, fuck, man, is it going to be another complete bummer ending again? And they twisted around so that it's a triumphant ending. And I was like, all right, thank you, Pierce Brown, for not making me upset about this ending. I thought he was going to do it again because immediately after I finished book two, I had to go to book three, like immediately, as
Nice.
that because of how upsetting that ending was.
Yeah.
But the ending of three resolves most of the story, so I was like, okay, I can take a break between that and Iron Gold.
Yeah, I think I might have mentioned before that, and it seems like Daniel Green and other booktubers kind of seem to agree about this, that there seems to be a 3 book arc with the first 3 books, and then there's kind of a
Uh-huh.
second 3 book arc with the 3 books after that. And I would say there's a similar kind of rise and fall in terms of the buildup of complexity that ends up in this huge dramatic climax.
Okay, so it's kind of like here's part two with the same type of pacing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, that's the only different thing that I've read from you is I finished book three, and man, is Red Rising an awesome series?
I know, right? Yeah. I'm I'm so glad that that I found out about it. I don't remember whether I found out about it from you or Daniel Green.
Not me. It must have been Daniel Green. Because you're the one that got me into it.
Sweet. It's awesome that
Um,
we get each other into so many awesome series.
Another thing that I'll just mention that I watched recently is Everyday Negroes reading the Book of Wheel of Time. Have you been
Yeah,
watching that?
I've watched the first few episodes.
Yeah, it's almost. I feel that the reaction to the book is. I'm enjoying it as much as the reaction to the show.
I think I actually like their reactions to the book more because they because they've seen the show. So, or well, I guess it seems like it's only the one guy, Addison, so far.
Right. I
But
think it's just going to be him because I think he's the book reader of the group.
okay,
It
yeah.
does mention that he has also read Red Rising.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
he's read
cool.
that too.
That'd be cool to see him do episodes about that too. But yeah, I like him even more talking to this other woman. I forget what her name is, but who seems
The
to be like,
booktuber.
yeah, right, yeah. So she's more of an expert on the books and the show, and him being surprised about the differences and that sort of thing between the show and the books.
Yeah, I think the funny one is the one that he mentioned was her turning into Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah.
Because she didn't do that in the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
No giant moraine, unfortunately,
Yeah.
and no moraine with a staff.
True. Yeah.
That staff gets destroyed by the end of the first book. But yeah, I'm liking his series. Looks like they're doing like 10 chapters at a time, and they're spending like an hour and a half on those chapters. And yeah, I'm really enjoying that. It's almost like I'm doing a third or fourth read through them. So,
Yeah. True. Yeah.
so I don't even know. I guess from what it sounds like, he's gonna always watch the show before even tackling any of the books. So,
Okay.
um, I think they have, if they're doing it 10 chapter chunks, I think there's gonna be at least three more episodes for this first book.
Cool.
I wonder what he's gonna
Yeah.
think about like the ending of the first book versus the show.
Yeah. I'm wondering too. It's pretty fucking dramatically different.
Yeah, and then medieval Mick Jagger was introduced far sooner in the books.
Hmm. Yeah. That reminds me. By the way, Watt spoilers have. I think they've almost caught up to us in Crossroads of Twilight. I think they just released their third episode on the prologue the other day.
Yeah, no, I've been re-listening to Crossroads of Twilight, the book, and I think I'll be ready to do Crossroads of Twilight in 2 weeks,
Okay.
and we could do that like
Definitely
on
the
Thursday.
sloggiest of the slog.
Yeah, it's a little slowish. There's a lot of political stuff that happens. At
Hmm.
least in Camelin, it's just like politics, 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 politics. Um, but yeah, it's okay. We'll have to see if it's going to be better or worse than, I don't know, what was the book that didn't I thought that was super slow. I think it was like book 7 or 8.
I don't remember which one.
It was a book where
It
I
must
can't
have been
even
7 or 8.
remember. Yeah, the book where Rand killed people on accident with Kalendor.
I think that
It's
might have been 7. I'm not sure.
the book that starts off with the nuclear explosion. Um, the six
6 is a
is
good
a
book.
really good book. 7, 9 is a pretty decent book. So 7 or 8.
I'm
Can't
not really a
remember
big
which is
fan
which.
of 7 through 10 so far.
I liked 9.
I like 7, 8, 8. I like 7, 8, and 9 more than 10, though. Definitely.
Yeah, 9 had a good ending. The cleansing of the taint was. I think it was like 4 in the morning when I was reading that, and I was like totally hooked to that chapter.
That was the best part of the book. Definitely.
Yeah, I was like, holy shit, it's like 4 a.m. And usually I'd be like dozing off, but I was just like so alert. Um, but yeah, it was it's either the book right before it or book 7. I think it might have been book 8
Okay.
that that I was not jazzed with. But yeah, man. So do you want to go ahead and throw out some plugs there?
Yeah, everyone watching should check out my channel, Mindgasms, where last time Dusty and I talked, we discussed The Wasteland, book 3 in Stephen King's Dark Tower series, which is kind of horror, western slash sci-fi fantasy,
Yeah, it's
and
such a weird conglomeration
very
of genres, man.
very weird, yeah. So check that out. And yeah, next weekend, ideally, you and Chris and I, like we said, are going to talk about Animal Farm. And if not, we'll have Golden Sun, book 2 of
Mm.
that Red Rising sci-fi fantasy series about the hero on Mars. We'll have that one for a backup chat. So yeah, everyone check out all that awesome stuff on my Mindgasms channel. And I also am working on my next solo video, which will be my next one in my series on the post-structuralist French philosopher Michel Foucault's book, The History of Sexuality. So check out that one. Foucault gets into the technology of sex, possession, and eugenics in the phenomenally complex way as he does. So yeah, check all that stuff out on Mindgasms.
All right, all right. All right, man. Well, yeah, so on my channel, here's one of the proposals I have for you, if you're interested. I wanted to do Logan's Run.
Oh, the like 70s science fiction movie.
Both the movie and the book, if you want to do it.
Oh, I didn't even know there was a book. Yeah, I can
Yeah,
do that.
yeah. So I've watched the movie recently. I think it was like a couple weeks ago. And the movie still holds up, man. I was like, okay, this is still some interesting sci-fi. And I want to read the book just to see how different it is from the movie.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen the movie or read the book, so
You haven't
yeah,
seen
I
the movie? Really?
no.
Wow,
I know
that's
my dad's a fan of it because he liked it when he first saw it, but no, I haven't seen it.
it's definitely going to give you some 70s sci-fi vibes.
Okay. I know the premise, but I haven't seen it. No.
So yeah, I'm not sure. We can make that our next goal if you want. Um, to check out Logan's Run.
Sure.
The movie, I'm not sure where you can watch it. I know I watched it on HBO Max.
I could
Um,
see if it's on the Crave app that I have then, which sometimes gets stuff from HBO Max, and if not, I can watch it on the super secret website.
yeah, and if you need the book, I recently got it from my library, so I can put that on the book folder if you need it.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah. How long is it?
Um, can't be that terribly long. I don't think it's that long of a book. I
Okay.
haven't checked, so I can't tell you at the moment without exiting at it. I can tell you afterwards. After I
Okay.
can send you a message and
Well,
tell you
either
how
way,
long it is.
I'll see when you send it to me.
Yeah, the movie is, I don't know, movie length. It's not a super long movie. Um,
Yeah, I wouldn't think it would be as a 70s science fiction movie.
yeah, it's not a super long movie. The soundtrack is amazing. Some of the practical effects are pretty amazing. You'll see when you watch the movie. It's gonna be. I find it endearing,
Okay.
um, because it's like, yeah, this is
Endearing. Does that
definitely
mean
70s.
cheesy?
Um, the only thing I'll say that's cheesy, I don't really think it's cheesy because it's cheesy. It's just cheesy because it's the 70s
Okay.
and the technology. They didn't have the technology that we have today to produce movies.
Yeah, of course.
Um, you'll see when you
You
watch
can
it.
still get pretty good. You can still get really good practical and computer effects in the 70s, as we know, though, or at least practical effects more so, like and Star Wars: A New Hope and Alien, which we talked about obviously before on my channel.
Yeah, yeah, but those had like super big budgets. I don't think Logan's Run had a terribly large budget.
Okay.
Nothing like, Star Wars or Space Odyssey or Aliens.
Okay.
I have to see who directed it and everything, but Farrah Fawcett's in it, kind of in a
Oh.
prime.
Oh yeah. Not
But
sure if ever. I'm not sure if I've ever seen
she's
Farrah
not a
Fawcett
main
in a movie.
character. Well, when you watch it, you'll probably point her out pretty easily. She's not a main character, but when you watch it, let me know if you were able to spot Farrah Fawcett.
Okay.
So
I
yeah, that's
won't
what I
look at
wanted to
pictures
do
first then.
next. Yeah, don't look at pictures. Just watch the movie. Tell me what you think. I enjoyed. I've seen the movie before. I've seen it like twice before,
Okay.
but this is like years and years ago. Probably like when I was a teenager. I watched
Okay.
it. Um, but I was like, oh shoot, Logan's Run is here. It's classic sci-fi. Let me go watch it again. I thought it was pretty good for what it is, and it made me interested in checking out and seeing what the source material was. So I know there's going to be some differences, but I want to go ahead and check them out and see how that is.
Cool.
I think I find it better than Soylent Green as a movie.
I haven't seen that either.
You haven't seen Soylent Green?
No, I know the premise of that too, but no, I haven't seen that either.
um, who knows? Maybe something that might be something we'll check out later on too,
Yeah.
because it's such a classic, iconic um, movie that's been parodied in various TV shows and things. Um, I think there's even a product called Soylent Green that you can buy. It's like a
Yeah.
health drink or
Yeah,
something.
it's meal replacement drink of some kind. Yeah.
It's kind of ironic and weird
Yeah.
considering what Soylent Green the movie is. So it's like, why would you make a product called Soylent when you know that Soylent is like fucking made of disposed human bodies?
Oh, it is?
Even you don't know the premise behind
Oh,
Soylent
I guess
Green?
I was confused about the premise. No, I don't.
What do you think the premise of Soylent Green
I
was?
thought it was I thought it was the like meal replacement thing or something to do with
Well,
aliens for that for some post-apocalyptic thing. I don't know. I didn't
well,
really
it is
know.
definitely it is a post-apocalyptic movie.
Oh, okay.
It's interesting seeing what like the 70s thought a post-apocalyptic would post post. I wouldn't call it post-apocalyptic. It'd be like more like the human society is on the edge of a post-apocalypse.
Okay.
Um, so
So
yeah,
pre-apocalypse or intra-apocalypse?
I guess pre-apocalypse, maybe more
Okay.
like Mad Max 1, except the cities are more populated. Like Mad Max 1 is such a weird movie, like comparing it to like the rest of the Mad Max movies.
I still haven't seen that.
You haven't seen the first Mad Max
No.
movie?
Only one I've seen now is the more recent one, Mad Max Fury Road, which I did think was really good.
You've never seen Mad Max 2?
Nope.
And you haven't seen Beyond Thunderdome? You're fucking
Nope.
kidding me.
Nope.
Dude, we have to cover those.
Sure, man.
I
Yeah,
can
definitely.
skip Mad Max 1, but Mad Max 2 and Mad Max 3 are so goddamn good.
Sweet. Oh, Matt, you don't like the first one?
Not really. Like the first
Okay.
one, I don't know. I don't really like the first one that much. The
Okay.
second and third one are amazing though.
Cool.
And I highly recommend those. Wow, you haven't seen any of the Mad like the old ones. That's
Nope.
like wow. Uh, but out of all the Mad Maxes, I think probably 3 is my favorite.
Okay.
Beyond Thunderdome. All right, man. All right, so those are things that, well, movie wise, if we do movies, we got plenty. We got Silent Green. We've got the next one I want to do, which is Logan's Run, and the couple of the old Mad Max movies.
Sure, man.
All right, man. You take it easy, and we might be doing Animal Farm tomorrow, so keep an eye on
No,
Andrew's
not
channel.
not tomorrow. It'll be next week.
Oh, next week. So
Yeah,
yeah,
because
next week
Chris
we may be
can.
doing Animal Farm.
Yeah, because Chris can only talk on Friday nights and Saturday nights for like that lines up with your time on the weekends.
Okay, great. All right, well, thank you everybody for sitting around and listening to us jabber on about the Last of Us TV show. Like and subscribe and share. Leave any comments that you like. I love comments. Leave them. Even those stupid porn advertisements. Whatever. That you guys have a great day. And thank you for watching.
Right. Adios until next time, everyone. Tell us how woke the show is.
Yeah, for sure.